नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 9th chapter, text number 38. It's not turned on here. इत्थं नुतिर्यग् ऋषिदेव जशावतारैर्। इत्थं नुतिर्यग् ऋषिदेव जशावतारैर्। लोकान् विभावयसि हंसि जगत्प्रतीपान्। लोकान् विभावयसि हंसि जगत्प्रतीपान्। धर्मं महापुरुषपासि युगानुवृत्तम्। धर्मं महापुरुषपासि युगानुवृत्तम्। चन्न कलौ यद् अभवस्त्रियोगसत्त्वम्। चन्न कलौ यदभवस्त्रियुगोस्तसत्त्वम्। इत्थं नुतिर्यग् ऋषिदेव जशावतारैर्। लोकान् विभावयसि हंसि जगत्प्रतीपान्। धर्मं महापुरुषपासि युगानुवृत्तम्। चन्नः कलौ यत् अभवस्त्रियुगोतसत्त्वम्। इत्थं ऋतिर्यग् ऋषिदेव जशावतारैर्। लोकान् विभावयसि हंसि जगत्प्रतीपान्। धर्मं महापुरुषपासि युगानुवृत्तम्। चन्नः कलौ यदभवस्त्रियुगोस्तसत्त्वम्। इत्थं ऋतिर्यग् ऋषिदेव जशावतारे। लोकान् विभावयसि हंसि जगत्प्रतीपान्। धर्मं पुरुष चन्नः कलौ यदभवस्त्रियुगोतसत्त्वम्। इत्थं ऋतिर्यग् ऋषिदेव जशावतारैर्। लोकान् विभावयसि हंसि जगत्प्रतीपान्। धर्मं महापुरुषपासि युगानुवृत्तम्। चन्नः कलौ यदभवस्त्रियोगसत्त्वम्। Itham, in this way. Nra, like a human being, such as Lord Krishna and Lord Ramachandra. Tiryak, like animals such as the boar. Rishi, as a great saint, Parashurama. Deva, as demigods. Jasha, as an aquatic such as the fish and the tortoise. Avataraihi, by such different incarnations. Lokan, all the different planetary systems. Vibhavayasi, you protect. Hamsi, you sometimes kill. Jagat Pratipan, persons who have simply created trouble in this world. Dharmam, the principles of religion. Mahapurusha, O great personality. Pasi, you protect. Yuga Anuvittam, according to the different millenniums. Channaha, covered. Kalau, in the age of Kali. Yat, sins. Abhavaha, have been and will be in the future. Triyugaha, named Triyuga. Atha, therefore. Saha, the same personality. Tvam, you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. In this way, my Lord, you appear in various incarnations as a human being, an animal, a great saint, a demigod, a fish, or a tortoise, thus maintaining the entire creation in different planetary systems and killing the demoniac principles. According to the age, O my Lord, you protect the principles of religion. In the age of Kali, however, you do not assert yourself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore you are known as Triyuga, or the Lord who appears in three yugas. I can hear somebody chanting. Oh, really? I thought somebody's chanting and listening to Bhagavatam at the same time here. Huh? Oh, somebody was chanting. See, my ears are not that bad. Because one has to pay attention to whatever you're doing, either you're listening to Bhagavatam or you're chanting, Purport. As the Lord appeared just to maintain Lord Brahma from the attack of Madhu and Kaitaba, He also appeared to protect the great devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya appeared in order to protect the fallen souls of Kali Yuga. There are 4 yugas or millenniums: Satya, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali. In all the yugas but Kali Yuga, the Lord appears in various incarnations and asserts Himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But although Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appears in Kali Yuga, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He never asserted Himself as such. On the contrary, whenever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was addressed as being as good as Krishna, He blocked His ears with His hands, denying His identity with Krishna. Because He was playing the part of a devotee, Lord Chaitanya knew that in Kali Yuga there would be many bogus incarnations pretending to be God, and therefore He avoided asserting Himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, in many Vedic literatures, especially in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11.5.32. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagne Sankirtana Prayet Yajanti Hi Sumedasaha. In Kali Yuga, intelligent men worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is always accompanied by his associates such as Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhara, and Srivasa. The entire Krishna consciousness movement is based on the principles of the Sankirtana movement inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, one who tries to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of the Sankirtana movement knows everything perfectly. He is Sumedas, a person with substantial intelligence. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Itinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaurabhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In this way, my Lord, you appear in various incarnations as a human being, an animal, a great saint, a demigod, a fish or a tortoise, thus maintaining the entire creation in different planetary systems and killing the demoniac principles. According to the age, O my Lord, you protect the principles of religion. In the age of Kali, however, you do not assert yourself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore you are known as Triyuga, or the Lord who appears in 3 yugas. So we see here, Srila Prabhupada in the purport is starting with describing the Lord's killing of Madhu and Kaitaba. That's a very interesting pastime. We'll spend a few minutes on that. This pastime is also tied to the creation of the earth. Not something I had internalized before. So, in the beginning of creation, Mahavishnu is lying on the causal ocean. This would be Shirodakashaya Vishnu, who is lying in the ocean, because from his navel, lotus is coming out, right? And so Brahma is created, right? So the very first living entity to be created is Brahma. Now, Lord Brahma gets instructions in the form of the Chatushloka Bhagavatam, we say, right? And he then creates the Vedas and goes into deep meditation before he starts creating the universe. At this time, from the ears of Vishnu, from the earwax of Vishnu, 2 demons are created, Madhu and Kaitaba. And they are representatives of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. Now these demons are also when they initially come, then they say, oh, we need to get some power in this world. And they start doing a lot of tapasya. and they please Durga Devi. And they are able to get a boon that they will not die unless they themselves wish to die. Voluntary death. This seems to be a normal, way of all the demons, getting interesting boons. Even like, Hiranyakashipu had similar boons, right? But his was not voluntary. These were cleverer than Hiranyakashipu in one sense. Unless they desire to try, they cannot die. And their boon was granted. And they started terrorizing, everywhere, obviously. And at that time, there were not too many living entities to terrorize. They saw Brahma, and he was deep in meditation, and that he had created the 4 Vedas. And then they went and stole the Vedas and took it down to Patala Loka with them. So Brahma was very sorry to see the Vedas being stolen from him, because he thought that is the basis of his creation of the universe. So he chased them to the Patal Loka to try to retrieve the Vedas. But you can imagine, Madhu and Kaitaba were so powerful, right? They had been given the boon of only voluntary death. And so Brahma could not do anything to them. And so at this point, Brahma feels sorry and goes to Mahavishnu. And Mahavishnu is lying in Yoga Nidra, right? And so he could not be woken up. And then he beseeches the help of Lakshmi Devi. And then Vishnu awakens and takes the Hayagriva incarnation to fight against Madhu and Kaitaba. It seems these fellows were so powerful. Madhu would fight with Hayagriva and Kaitaba would take rest. And then Kaitaba would fight with Hayagriva and then Madhu would take rest. They were literally, it is said that Vishnu got tired of fighting with them. Like, how long will there's no end to this battle? And then so, at that point, an interesting plan was created. Vishnu, just taking advantage of, they understood these are demons, right, with obviously a lot of false ego will be there in a demoniac body. So Vishnu says, see, I am very pleased with you, both. You can ask me any boon you want. This Madhu and Kaitaba are saying, what boon are you going to give us? We are defeating you. You are not even you cannot even defeat us. What boon will you give us? Right? You ask any boon you want, we will give you a boon. Right? So like this, Vishnu tricks those two Madhu and Kaitaba, to get into this kind of a compromise situation. Then Vishnu says, okay, I want the boon that you should be killed. Now, see, even the demons, they all follow. They're demons because they don't want to accept Vishnu. But other than that, they all follow the Vedas, they will follow this thing. So they're given a boon, they can't say no. And then, Vishnu is able to, they said, okay. And then they still were trying to escape. The Lord expanded himself to very big form because they were very strong in the water. And so the Lord expanded beyond the waters. And it is said that they also expanded even more. And then the expansion of the wars were going on. And then finally, the Lord catches them both on his thighs and severs their heads off with his discus. Then it said that both the demons were cut into 12 pieces. 2 heads and 2 legs, and I can imagine that all the parts of the body were just cut off in the body. 4 legs and 4 hands, and this thing. So totally about 12 pieces were floating on the ocean. And the sort of the fat from all of that body amalgamated together and became earth. So that's why earth is called, I think, Medusi or something. It's amalgamation of fat. So it said that, in those days, the tectonic plates that are there for the earth, like it seems that they are the representations of the different limbs of these demons. And from that earth was created. So from this pastime, you can see how these demons, however powerful they become, their own false ego is the end result of their own death. Right? And so here, Prabhupada is explaining this particular pastime first in a very small way. And saying Madhu and Kaitaba were killed by the Lord, and the Lord protected Brahma from the attack of Madhu and Kaitaba. And then he mentions Prahlad Maharaj. And finally, he talks about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Again, it's very interesting that this verse directly, is clearly mentioning that in the Kali Yuga, the Lord doesn't assert himself, even though he appears. Right? We usually quote only the 11th canto as an indication of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's presence. And so this verse is also very clearly mentioning that the Lord comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, before we delve into understanding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because understanding him and the Sankirtana movement is very important for our own advancement in Krishna consciousness. Right? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura writes very beautifully. Anybody remembers what book he wrote about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? A small booklet. Yeah, Life and Precepts of Lord Chaitanya. Right? And he sent it to many universities all over. And they found a copy in Canada, right? In that, is that Waterloo or what is that university? No, I think one of the famous universities there. Huh? Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, yeah. So in that, this thing is a very nicely, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura talks about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's avatar. And I thought I'll just read a little bit from there, and then we'll spend let me come to the end of this. There's a okay. If you are inclined, after a study of these pages, to identify Sri Chaitanya Deva as the Supreme Lord, we would beg you not to think that God has entered into the carnal coil like the fallen man. His supreme power can bring him down to the material world with all his glory and attributes without being touched by the lower energy of Maya. To believe otherwise would be to commit the sin of minimizing his true position. We have no objection if the reader does not believe his miracles, as miracles alone never represent the Godhead. Demons like Ravana and others have also performed miracles, which do not prove that they were God. It is unlimited prema and it is overwhelming influence which can be seen in no other than God Himself. In conclusion, we leave it to our readers to decide how to view Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Vaishnavas have accepted him as the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. Others have regarded him as a Bhakta Avatara, a divine incarnation to distribute love of God. It is at the request of some Vaishnavas that we have composed the Smarana Mangala verses in the form of prayers for daily recitation at the time of worship. Those of you who are not prepared to accept them in that way may accept Nimai Pandit as a noble and holy teacher. That is all we want our readers to believe. Noble readers, pardon us for intruding on you with these pages. As servants of Sri Chaitanya Deva, it was our duty to propagate his supreme teachings, and in doing a duty, we are entitled to pardon for any trouble we may have given you. We are natives of Bengal, and in couching our words in a foreign language, we might have been liable to mistakes for which you will please forgive. In conclusion, we beg to say that we should be glad to reply to any questions which our brethren would like to address to us on these important subjects. We feel great interest in trying to help our friends to seek the way to spiritual love. So beautifully, Bhaktivinoda Thakura is describing the greatness of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and giving us various perspectives to look at him. Right? See, if you accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Lord himself was come down, right? That is a pathway to immediate advancement. But there could also be a situation where you are not able to accept that. Right? So here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling, it's okay, even if you don't accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Lord, at least accept him as a Bhakta Avatara, as an incarnation who has come to give love of God. Okay, fine, you don't even accept him as that. At least accept him as a noble and holy teacher. That is all we want our readers to believe. So, it is very important here to understand this hidden avatar, the Channa Avatara, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and see like what exactly is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asking us to do. What is the speciality of his incarnation? If you read further, this it's a very nice, obviously it's a very small booklet, but it is Bhaktivinoda Thakura has condensed our entire philosophy into a nice article. That's the way you should think about it. It's definitely a very wonderful read. Please do take some time and read it. But the main thing he calls out is that the rational mind cannot touch the Supreme Lord. Right? We hear in the Bhagavatam, Ata Shri Krishna Namadhi na bhaved grahyam indriyehi sevon mukhehi jihvadav swayam eva spurati adaha. The Supreme Lord cannot be touched by our rational mind. We can sit down and rationalize as much as we want. We can understand some aspects of this material world, but we will miss the essence of this world. We will understand, we may understand that, that we are not the body, that we are a spirit soul. Now, why the soul is here? What is the purpose in life? There are different ways to interpret all this information. That is why they're called as relative truths. The absolute truth can only come, with the association of the Supreme Lord. So, I will just read a little bit from how Bhaktivinoda Thakura summarizes the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in a very, very simple ways. And so it's very succinct, 9 simple principles, doctrines, he calls it. I think it's important for us to, I will read it and we'll try to internalize this. Lord Chaitanya teaches us first that the rational attributes of people are not capable of approaching the divine sphere of spirit. He considers reason to be quite incompetent in such a matter. However, he considers that the religious sentiment in man, even in a very small quantity, does have the power to comprehend spirit. Inspiration alone can give light to spiritual matters. Inspiration coming down from the higher realm through purified and blessed souls has been exhibited in the form of the Vedas. The Vedas, together with their explanatory notes, the Puranas, are therefore the only evidence in matters of spirit and are eternal in nature. Thus, Vedic truths should be accepted as the only truth in higher matters. See, actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that the rational mind cannot comprehend spirit itself. I have to stand corrected. You can't even understand that you are not the body through the rational mind. The only way we will understand we are a spirit soul itself is by the blessings of elevated souls. Right? And there he is saying that the Vedas are actually, they are the inspiration coming down from the higher realm through purified and blessed souls. Right? Then, reason, while sincerely helping the inspired truth, may be accepted as auxiliary evidence. According to Lord Chaitanya, the Vedas teach us 9 principal doctrines. Number 1, Hari, the Almighty, is one without a second. Number 2, He is always vested with infinite power. Number 3, He is an ocean of rasa, sweetness. Number 4, the soul is His vibhinnam sha, or separated part. Number 5, certain souls are engrossed by prakriti, or His illusory energy. Number 6, certain souls are released from the grasp of prakriti. Number 7, all spiritual and material phenomena are the achintya bedha veda prakash of Hari, the Almighty. Number 8, bhakti is the only means of attaining the final objective existence. Number 9, Krishna prema alone is the final object of spiritual existence. So beautifully, right, in these 9 doctrines, the entire philosophy of Krishna consciousness is enshrined over here. So, we should understand here that our attempts at rationally understanding philosophy, saying, okay, I will read this and I'll make the connection between this and I'll write that down. It's a good attempt, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying it's only auxiliary evidence. You will really never be able to touch the Supreme Lord, get His mercy, develop bhakti or prema, right? It's not at all possible through the rational process. We have to accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as our savior. We have to accept the Sankirtana movement that he has given as the most powerful means of purifying the heart, of taking out this dust of material existence that is encompassing us. Right? Now, depending on how deep our engagement is, right? The Atma, it is said, if you're in Tamoguna, the covering of the Atma is quite total in nature. Right? What is the example given for a person in Tamoguna? What kind of covering? Right? Embryo within the womb. You can't even see that there is an embryo. Right? It's completely covered. There is no presence, there is no visible signs or anything like that. So completely covered. Now, if you're in Rajoguna, what is that? What is the example that's given? That is Satoguna. Huh? The fire and smoke is Satoguna. Because you are able to see Rajoguna, the dust on the mirror. Because the dust in the mirror is, you can't really see, but some glimpses are there. It's such a big layer, like thick dust is on the mirror. Some glimpse is there here and there, that there is a possibility, that there's hope that once you clean, you will be able to see something. So Rajoguna is like that. But Sattva-guna is like smoke covering fire. So smoke covering fire, you can see the smoke. Sometimes you can see the fire. But because of the smoke, we can be assured that there is some fire over there. That the presence is created. So, when we are entrapped in this world, it does not matter which of these coverings we are in. The chanting of the holy name, Sankirtana movement is so powerful. It can break through all the three. It doesn't matter how deep your covering is. And it can get us in touch with spirit. See, that is the difference. That is the beauty and the additional mercy of the Lord in Kali Yuga. See, all other forms, you just say Ashtanga Yoga process. It already needs a living entity to be at a certain level. No, all living entities, you go take some tamasic living entity and say, go do yoga. Like, what yoga will they do? Right? They cannot. The Grahana Yoga process. Obviously, Grahana Yoga process needs a certain level of good karma also. To be in a certain level of ability for the brain to think. If you are struggling for your existence, if you are you don't have food to eat, right? You can't even think about these things. You're only worried about Annamaya condition, right? You'll first want to. It only takes a person who is beyond these things, who is in a good karmic situation, that they can even contemplate on this. They should have also come out of the lower modes. Again, for all this thing, and it's a very slow process. You can get stuck anywhere in the process. But the process of Sankirtana, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, that's so powerful that even the most fallen conditioned souls can get touch with the Supreme. Can get in this lifetime, in one lifetime. See, that is the thing. It's not that in millions of lifetimes you have to be born. In one lifetime, if you seriously follow the instructions of our Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, in one lifetime you can go back to Godhead. I mean, it's an unheard of concession. And that concession is only possible because of this hidden avatara of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who comes as the Mahavadanyaya avatar, the most munificent form of the Lord. Jai Prabhupada. We see that the Lord comes in different avatars to protect. But the protection the Supreme Lord gives as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the protection from repeated birth and death in this world. So we should understand our good fortune. We should internalize the special nature of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, and we should seek his blessings so that we can develop Krishna Prema, which is the final object of spiritual existence. Okay, we'll stop here. Anybody has any quick questions? We'll just take one question maybe. Yes. Yeah, that is the thing, right? Kali Yuga, the incarnation is hidden. Right? Like in the verse itself it is telling, the Lord does not assert himself. The Lord incarnates, but it does not assert himself as the Supreme. So we should understand Dashavatara is just a simplification, for nice storytelling. So the avatars of the Lord are many, and in the nice song form, those Dashavataras are mentioned like that. Right? It's not that many of us think that they're not even the principal avatars also. It's just that they're picked for the telling of that this thing. So the Lord incarnations, so many incarnations are there. Hayagriva incarnation is not mentioned. Right? The Arash Kurma is there. Fish avatar is there. All those different avatars are there. Yeah. So that's they're just a simplification. It's not that it's a comprehensive list of all the avatars of the Lord. Okay, ready? Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Bol Premanande.